recollection that someone said that they didn't like my dramatic music, and I just haven't had time to find another dramatic music instead. So I'm really sorry to that person out there. Okay, let's get this going here. Welcome to the ROSE777 channel, and I am your host, ROSE777, here with Jeffrey Phillips tonight. And I am so excited to have this conversation because my channel is all about bringing new people on who I haven't talked to before to introduce ideas and see if the audience can handle ideas and not get emotional and act retarded. And I don't think it's a bad thing that I just like the idea that maybe if I brought someone onto my channel, people will go over to his channel and then something good would happen. And then maybe later in life, I can be like, it was because of me that this thing happened. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, with being proud of myself for trying to cause positive things. But sometimes there's a risk involved. There can be some psycho that comes over to your channel. And in advance, I apologize. So we're both here consensually, but it still is a trip that digitally we mind controlled each other and we both showed up here at the same time and place to talk. We know so many of the same people.
Yeah.
And we so many different experiences. And I really want to ask you all the way back to the beginning, when did you and how did you become interested in the consequences of human conduct? But before I do, welcome to the show. How are you doing? And is there anything you want to bring to the table before we begin?
I have a podcast that's on Sundays, V.G.T Live. If you follow my YouTube/@Jeffrey Phillips, you could find us there. It's a pretty fun live and open podcast, so anyone who comes up can. Anyone who checks out the show can come up and talk about whatever they want. So we do kind of get some weirdos. We got a real weird one last night. We were doing a Kabbalion reading, and Noah and Jana were there, and we had a pretty crazy Satanist show up.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that Jana was open to going on live streams. Like the last time I asked her, she wouldn't do it.
She was in the chat. Noah was on the live stream, but she was in the chat.
Understood.
Yeah.
Jana. Not coming on.
She's writing her book right now.
She's always writing her book right now. She always will be.
I think she's actually close to finishing it though.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I need to, well, now I'm going to have to text her. So yeah, just the fact that you know Jana is very cool. And
we're all friends here. I'm kind of switching gears from doing only my podcast to supporting other people. Kind of doing like a network, but I'm just keeping it kind of casual. But Jana is someone I'm going to be promoting a lot. She's a badass, and Noah's a badass. And we had the podcast we had last night was unbelievable. I'm not even on the same level Like the people I have around me right now are so fucking smart, man. Like I was just like controlling the live stream last night. I wasn't even involved in the conversation because the people that I've gotten to get under the same roof, they're just super fucking smart. And I'm just very happy about where things are right now in my activism, I guess.
That sounds awesome. So it sounds like we're two glues being brought together. So the glue by osmosis, someone's going to come through and they're going to meet someone really awesome because of all the awesome people you're surrounding yourself with. And that's how it should be. I don't understand why people get really competitive about YouTube shows because it's so overly saturated right now. I mean, I don't think that anybody has to worry about becoming at a David Icke, Alex Jones-esque level because so much of this information that we kind of learned from so-called teachers wasn't as easily found. Even at the time, it seemed like it was more easily found. Now it's just everywhere, and people are going to find it in the way, shape, and form that they just or happens organically. So I just feel like everybody should be just trying to really get on that one-on-one human connection level where it's everything that we do every day, everyone that we impact, and it will make a difference in your immediate sphere of influence. And I know that throughout this conversation, you're going to catch me parroting little tiny Mark Passio phrases here and there, because that's the closest I ever came to feeling like I was in a cult, because there were phrases that he said that really impacted me. So there's nothing I can do to change the past. It just so happens that that individual said certain words in the right order and it unplugged me from the matrix. You motherfucker, you're the one that did it, Mark Passio. And it was because of him that I started to consider the consequences of human behavior and the idea of like human conduct as opposed to animals. I mean, really that level, like that was the switch. I was like, okay, so that's why people have religion. Because to me, I never understood why people were religious because I didn't need a God to feel like I needed to do the right thing. I had an internal feeling like, oh, if I do something bad, I feel bad about it. So I don't need to be scared of going to hell or something like that. What about you? How did you begin to start caring about conduct?
So in my teens, I was a part of the vegan straight edge hardcore movement that happened in the 90s, which was very much based in ethics and morality and kind of doing the right thing and not abusing your body with drugs and alcohol. And there was a bunch of stuff going on with that movement back in the day. And so I got into Ron Paul a little bit in 2008.
Me too.
And then more so in 2012, and did a lot of grassroots stuff for Ron Paul in 2012. And he actually wrote about my buddies and me. We got a apartment down on Hollywood Boulevard and like tore up the carpet and put in a stage and started doing Ron Paul meetups, and actually had like some pretty big events going on, in our little 2-bedroom apartment, which was pretty cool. And then I was more of a minarchist back then, still very anti-government. I think like watching when I was straight edge, I was exposed to like Loose Change, the 9/11, the first big 9/11 documentary. Yeah. And then the I don't know if you ever saw Paradise Lost, the story of the West Memphis 3.
I'm obsessed with it. Damien Eccles. Okay,
Yeah.
I did an entire show called The Alchemical Transmutation of Mark Byers.
Oh,
he's a perfect example of someone who admitted he was wrong. Yeah. And I just watched him go through that, and I loved him, and I felt so sorry for him, but I knew he was wrong because I knew the boys were innocent the whole time because I love Metallica, Megadeth, so cliche.
Yeah. Dude, that documentary, like I can't even hear that Metallica album without thinking of the Paradise Lost documentary because it was so good. But I actually lived, when that came out, I lived at this place called The Brewery in LA. That was an old Pabst brewery from like the 1900s. And Burke, the guy who did the second documentary, the kind of lawyer, kind of activist guy, he was my neighbor. And
Oh my gosh.
he was my neighbor, and I watched the documentary, and I was like, holy shit, that's him. And so I would go over there and talk to those guys. He would call them in jail, and I was able to talk to all of them
What?
one day. And it was pretty cool. And then I ended up being in this band that was kind of big, and I had this awesome West Memphis 3 shirt that had all their mug shots on it.
Oh,
And I
nice.
wore that thing through the entire time I was in that band. And then eventually they got out, which is crazy, like absolutely crazy that they ended up getting out. Like
August 18th, 2011.
Yeah, not even that long ago. Crazy.
Well, think about it. 2011 was kind of long ago, but it felt like an eternity. 18 years up in
A
that
lot
mud.
happened in 2012, man. Like a
Oh
big
my.
paradigm change happened then. Like a lot of eye-opening, a lot of people, becoming awake from then on out. But yeah, so West Memphis 3 really pissed me off. Loose
Yeah.
Change really pissed me off, and I was already pretty anti-government and anti all the meat and dairy and all that bad stuff. So that led into then seeing the Ron Paul stuff and being like, whoa, that's really cool. And that's a Republican saying that, because I was raised a liberal hippie in California. So then in 2012, I actually had like really good friends that were really into Ron Paul, and we went really hard on that stuff in 2012. And then I had been introduced. I was doing a lot of videos, and just my short game, like I understood libertarianism really, really well, really quickly. And that was minarchist era. And then Mark Passio really showed me how that I was an anarchist. But I didn't go all. I didn't research natural law or anything like that during that time, and so I missed out for 12 years on the natural law stuff, pretty much, which is kind of a bummer because I had people giving me, his
2013.
Yeah, the Mark Paul, the natural law lecture. Several people had given it to me, and I had started to watch it a bunch of times. I just couldn't get I couldn't get through it, and I wasn't ready for spirituality or anything like that. During that time, I was vegan until I moved to LA, and just getting caught up. I was into music and did all the Hollywood stuff, and partied really hard, and just kind of lost all my morals in LA, and was turned back to carnism. And so I kind of got lost in LA for a while doing the rock star thing. And I had always had like activist guilt and vegan guilt for like not doing anything. Like I'd always been an activist. When I was a kid, I used to do the PETA tables and stuff at high schools and at concerts, and was always an activist. So once I was in a band that was kind of not doing anything very good for the world, I was kind of bummed out. Although I was in a huge band and living, the Hollywood lifestyle rock star
What's the name
thing.
of the band?
Hollywood Undead.
Okay, keep going.
We were a big in the MySpace era.
Oh, cool.
But the first album was gold. It's a real, they're still around. They're pretty big. So after I ended up leaving that band, and then 2012 would be the next thing I got really into. You could see that sign behind me in that picture. Go back up, scroll back up. There you go. That one. That was I was trying to push. I was all of my fans, all the young fans. I was showing them Ron Paul back in the day quite a bit. I've always tried to share the activism with any of these kids that thought the band I was in was cool or something. But yeah, this is really old and this is kind of cringy, but the band was pretty cringy. It was some goofy stuff, but it was fun and it was a learning experience, and I really met my shadow when I was in that band. So the Ron Paul stuff was really cool. We were doing a lot of activism for Ron Paul, and we went to the USC Ron Paul event, and there was freaking what 8,000 kids there climbing off trees and stuff, like climbing on the buildings to see Ron Paul. And like we didn't really think he was going to win until we went and saw that event. We were like, holy shit. And then they unseated him. You know, they took away all of his delegates. They just didn't. They couldn't have such a real dude as president. So that was kind of the last. That was my like, okay. And then the Mark Passio stuff, the anarchism stuff came along, where I was just like, okay, well, I'm not spending any more time on politics anymore. That's for freaking sure, because I just, you know, that was my last time I was going to do anything political. And then they just unseated the guy I just spent all this time, you know, like I donated to him. I had lunch with I had breakfast with Ron Paul. Hey, Scott Gordon, what's up, dude?
What's up, Scott?
So that was that left a very bad taste in my mouth for politics. And so the anarchism stuff was just kind of the obvious next step. And Mark really helped me understand anarchism. And ever since, I've just always been, I mean, I did the whole outward pointing activism for 10 years because I didn't watch the whole Mark Passio video back in the day, and I didn't try and really like understand it because for some reason Mark just wasn't, I don't know, wasn't super the presentation, you know, his whole thing, I guess, just wasn't my thing, and I just wasn't ready for it. So then anarchism came along, and yeah, I was, you know, just angry at the government, you know, just outward pointing to everything else, everybody else. Oh, it's this problem and this problem and this problem, and it's all the Zionists, or it's all, you know, the Illuminati or the Rothschilds or whoever. You know, you're just gonna endless outward pointing. You know, meanwhile, I didn't realize, you know, that like society and myself probably is not really ready for real anarchy, because everyone's still super fucked up and we're all still super brainwashed. And even when we're like 15 years into the freedom movement, you can still, you know, not have any idea what you're talking about, and, you know, not be an actual like not be in the headspace to be able to handle real anarchy, or if, you know, tomorrow, if we didn't have government, you know, like our society would be a mess because they're not ready. And so that's kind of been the second step in my activist career. You know, now just kind of going, okay, learning about shadow work, learning more about psychology, learning more about the occult, learning more about you know, just diving in on morality. And I've been doing my podcast for a year and a half now, and it just started as a vegan podcast, and now it's something so much more. And it became that way because so many people came to me and started complaining, and were like, hey, what the fuck is going on over at the One Great Work Network? And I was like, I don't know, but like I'd people from the network, people off the network, everybody really upset because everybody really likes Mark, but Mark just kind of like is asleep at the wheel with his network right now. And his network, like the idea of it was so cool. But it's just kind of turned into a business venture. And there's a bunch of moral relativists on the network. And
that sucks.
Huh?
That sucks to hear, because I feel like it just went into oblivion and you just never hear about it. I guess maybe not enough money was invested in advertisement so that more new people could know that it exists, and it just became like a hangout spot for people that were already into that specific genre of truth, especially after 2020, when all of the truth community started to segment itself in the way that Edward Bernays would describe as the easiest way to get people to be controlled, is by getting everyone into very small compartments. So you have people that, you know, either you're a flat earther or you're not. Like, that label is going to mean something to people, when in the past it's just like people talking shit around a bonfire, and from every day to day people can just share their ideas and evolve and not ascribe to these labels. Although I always say, you're not a real truther unless you're a militant anarchist vegan.
Yeah.
And
Damn.
people think I'm joking, but
Preach,
that's
sister.
my way of saying recognizing what's occurring. So like I could I could I could put myself on a reality show and have people see what I'm actually eating from day to day. And sometimes I might be ashamed, but guess what? I recognize that I don't have to have like a philosophical argument with myself every second. I could just say, oh, guess what? I know I made a mistake. I made a mistake right then and there. And I know that that's true. I'm not going to lie to myself that that's true. I know what's going on here. And I'm not going to hide it from myself or anyone else. That I made a mistake if I wasn't responsible enough in that moment to figure out how to nourish myself without something else dying.
Hell
And now,
yeah.
I guess since we got into this, I want to ask you your specifics of veganism in terms of like honey or eggs from a chicken that wasn't fertilized and might
Yeah.
even be harmed by sitting on the egg for too long. What's your elevator pitch vegan spiel?
So, like you said, the vegan anarchist thing is like the litmus test for truthers. Like, if you don't, and that's like I have quite a bad reputation on the One Great Work Network because I've been going after these guys because they're all half-assing it, and it's like, why even be into natural law if you aren't going to cut down on the most amount of harm that you do every day, which is a simple just deciding not to eat animals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's not that hard. And these guys, like, Mark's given them this excuse. Oh, it took me 12 years, so I'm not going to give anyone shit. Well, so these guys throw this excuse in my face all the time. Oh, it took Mark forever. Everyone's on their own journey. Everyone's on their own path. You can't get involved in you can't tell people when to do this. But it's like some of these guys have been on the network for 6 and 7 years. And it's like, if you don't get it yet, I don't consider these guys anarchists. Like, you keep talking about anarchy. What, you're patting yourself on the back because you don't enslave your neighbors? Like, that's not impressive to me. That's like baseline morality. You should know not to harm your neighbors. So, like, I don't understand why these guys are into natural law. So Will Keller, who's one of the Thelemites on Mark Passio's network, he has chickens and he's vegetarian, and someone brought up that that's carnism or something like that, and he was like, oh, these chickens just leave eggs around for me. They're just leaving them for me. And it's like, bro, okay, so I've had chickens before. I got several things to say about that. The chickens we have today have been genetically modified to have like 10 times as many eggs as they naturally should. Often I would find eggs bloody, so this chicken is having to have 10 times as many births as it's supposed to. It has to go out and slave for you all day to find all the nutrients to grow that egg, and that the chicken can eat that egg if it doesn't get fertilized and not have to go out and risk its life to collect nutrients. So that's like this whole, oh, they're just leaving, there's wild chickens in my backyard and they're just leaving eggs for me. It's such a bullshit excuse, cop out for someone coming from the One Great Work Network who's like Mark's right-hand man. Like, oh, so you don't get that these eggs, you're stealing eggs for, like, you're stealing the labor of these chickens. Like, that is slavery, as above, so below, law correspondence. You're supposed to know this shit, Will, so
Look
so yeah,
what
so
I'm
that's
saying.
chicken. What's that?
Some people do not think that the bees are our neighbors. Like, they don't think that animals are our neighbors when they think about harm. And I was just going through this experience. I just made that little banner for myself to remember to mention this because you said neighbors. And recently there was a truck accident in Washington of a bunch of beehives.
Yeah.
And my friend Derek was there, and he has all the equipment and everything necessary to save the bees. And I did a live stream with him last night. And as a result of that, he got in touch with the owner of the farm, and the owner of the farm wants to wait until the insurance company gets back to him. And these bees, since they don't have lids on top of the hives, they are attacking each other because they're confused and it's chaos. And bees are connected to higher realms and higher dimensions. They're very special. So just from my friend Derek's perspective, my friend, I'm trying to help him and get him connected. And now he's talked to the state, and there's nothing that he can do without breaking the law to save millions of bees. And what do people say? Oh, well, they're not the most effective pollinators anyway. Oh, so they're not doing enough of work for you to want to save this truck in this individual crisis situation. I'm not saying let's help Derek save the entire species of bees on the planet. I'm just saying, hey, there's a guy here and there's people with equipment and they can just come on in and save the bees. They can just do it. But the farmer just wants to, wait for this phone call to make sure. But this is like a 3-day thing. It's like pretty much all. I mean, it's sad to say, but I'm a very pragmatic person. It's probably too late. Unless someone who the farmer has a emotional connection to gets to him and says, hey, man, let those guys go in and save the bees.
Yeah, it's like there's these guys I interviewed once, really cool, older activists, liberal hippie guys in Northern California, and they're big activists for these Thule elk that are endangered that live in Northern California. And the state has basically fenced off all their land, and they're dying off because they don't have their normal grazing land. They don't have access to the streams that they normally have, and it's all because of the cattle industry. And the cattle farmers want all the elk to be killed because they're taking up grassland. And anyway, so these activist guys I know, it's just they just scream from the rooftops about this all day and nothing happens, and they're standing there watching these elks die. And it's like, dude, step over the fucking fence and save the animal. Everybody's so scared of breaking the fucking law. It's really
annoying.
And these men, impressive men, not too scared to step over a fence, take down a fence and save, do obviously what's right. But instead they just want to cry on the internet all day. And, I tried to talk to them about anarchist shit, and they're just like, nah, 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 nah. They just don't want to hear it, that there are better solutions outside of government, and that waiting for government to save these just endangered animals that they obviously don't give a shit about is just not the right way of doing it.
I think it's so difficult for people to come to terms with the fact that we are living in such a psychotic system of harm and slavery that they'd rather not know because it's hurtful to them to exist in it, right? So I think the reason why it's psychologically difficult to make that leap and kind of recognize things for what they are is because then it's so painful to continue living in it if you can't change it. And this is something on a massive scale that requires everyone to kind of come together, kind of like how Jack Talcott wants to end all wars. That's never going to happen unless something huge happens on a massive scale. So by you and I recognizing the truth tonight, that doesn't give us the responsibility to save every human and animal soul immediately, because we know. We just have to be able to sit with understanding it and not go to pieces over it. And that's the first step, is just existing in the acknowledgement. But even that is really going too far for so many people, because to admit to yourself every day of every second where you can catch, like you're reading Code of the Matrix, that your actions are contributing to harm, it's overwhelming. And then you start to be like, well, maybe we do need a reset. Maybe we do need a cataclysm. Maybe we do need to cleanse the earth of all this wickedness.
Carnism.
And technical, all of it. Just whatever causes the lion to eat the gazelle is baffling to me. I don't agree with it just because they call it nature. I'm like, I don't call that the intelligent design, but that's just my ignorance. I obviously am retarded, because obviously the concept of the lion eating the gazelle is way bigger than me, and it's been happening way longer than I've been around, and I can't stop it either. But I still don't agree with it. I mean, I wish there was another way that nature could exist where nobody was harming each other. But what can I do is I can recognize there's a difference between humans and animals. So if we know, if we can look at the mountain and say, oh my goodness, that's so gorgeous, and that's cool. But we also look at the lion and gazelle and we're like, that's bad. So I don't want to be like the lion eating the gazelle if I don't have to. Now, how do you feel about bug zappers?
Well, as I see in the chat, people are talking about plants feeling and stuff like that. There's different sentience levels, and this goes back to the bee thing too. Obviously, vegans understand there are deaths on our hands still from driving cars. We hit bugs, and most ethical vegans don't want to kill anything. There's incidental deaths which happen because we're alive. Crop deaths, like there's when someone sows a crop, they're killing worms and like killing bugs and maybe an occasional animal to sow these crops. So like a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people think that vegans, you'd be surprised, 9 out of 10 dudes that come on my show, they think vegans think that they don't cause any harm. And you get all these clowns that are like, oh, crap this. And it's like, yeah, we understand that some things die because our existence, everyone has incidental deaths on their hands. There's no way of getting around it outside of eliminating humanity. So these people that think they're debunking veganism because they think that vegans are saying that they don't do any harm are just, it's a big straw man. But yeah, bugs. I always give bugs a chance. Bees. I have a buddy who's a beekeeper. Bees are pretty important. Like I was saying, bugs get a chance with me, but like sometimes, when we walk outside, we step on bugs, and that's just like a part of life.
Well, my friend Jeannie's in the chat, and her feelings might be hurt because she might be feeling like it's bad that she has chickens. And I'm not mad at you for having chickens, Jeannie. I was just mad at the fact that his chickens had bloody openings, and it seems like they've been genetically engineered. And so that's where I want to bring my question back to you, Jeffrey, about these genetically engineered animals. Do you feel like Sigourney Weaver in Alien 4 when she walks into the room with the genetically modified versions of herself, and one of them's like, kill me, and then she takes the blowtorch?
Yeah.
We need to stop the species, and then they won't be able to live the suffering lives. Like, I had this conversation with Jana once about domesticated dogs and felt guilty for being like, what if we just, like, there's so much suffering from domesticated dogs. If there was no such thing as a domesticated dog, a tradition of millennia would end that makes everyone feel happy, but also this tradition of overpopulation and suffering as well. It's a conundrum that blows my mind, and I think I burn calories thinking about that.
Yeah, well, buying animals is most definitely super 1,000% unethical. If you're getting a dog or a cat from a shelter, that's a different story. But super unethical to buy animals. And there were two things you said there, two questions, right?
Don't no worries. I don't even remember them if I did, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So yeah, owning chickens, owning any animal, just because of like there's tons of reasons, unethical reasons. Obviously, you're taking okay. So that's what it was. So cows. There are no people think that a cow in a field is a supernatural thing when these cows are of European descent and they've been selectively bred into growing up very quickly, growing up very fat, having a very short life, short and miserable life, weighing far more than they're supposed to weigh. There's so many reasons why. I mean, the pigs, all of um, the animals have been selectively bred, genetically modified, I guess. And it's just like like the pugs. Like you see a pug, and it's just all kill me, like you said.
Yeah,
It's like these
issues.
poor animals, and people are just like, oh, this is the most natural thing, a cow in a field, and it's like they're just so caught up in their blood cult. Like these people didn't do research and decide to be a carnist. It was forced on them when they were too young to have any choice, and it was left as a tradition throughout their whole life. This isn't like something they researched for 6 months and decided on doing. So their lines of argument are absolutely ridiculous, and some of the smartest people I've heard say the dumbest shit about the ethics around veganism and carnism. It's like they just they take their brain out and flush it down the toilet when it comes to this stuff. They're the ones in the blood cult where they're sacrificing several animals a day, to live unnecessarily just for a taste. It's pretty scary.
Cheese is more addictive than any drug I've ever
Yeah,
experienced,
everyone
and
has trouble with
I,
cheese.
I always struggled with like it would be like the perfect salad, but then it's like at the end it's like boom, what about a little bit of goat cheese? And you know what I
Ooh.
found is a good way to get off cheese in a perfect salad is the taste of a peanut. And so I just recently made this mixture of this is a vegan salad dressing that I highly recommend to everyone. If you get like a Thai peanut sauce, mix it
Ooh, that's the
with
best.
mix it with a blood orange infused olive oil, and I have a hookup for that. It's on our sponsored page on our website, and I can't remember thevintageolive.com. The Vintage Olive. They have so many different infused olive oils, but anyway, I put that on some just really I don't know, like shredded lettuce. It was really like it was simple shredded lettuce, and then alfalfa sprouts and broccoli microgreens,
Yep, that's the
and
shit.
then a handful of hemp seeds, which is probably could have been like 250 calories. So I felt really fat and gross doing it, but I couldn't
Yeah,
help myself because I really was hungry. And so then pumpkin seeds and
that's a lot of
everything bagel
seeds.
seasoning. I know, but I wanted it to be different textures and just different. And so, yeah, it was really, really, really satisfying.
Yeah, there are some out of control vegan fetas these days. There are a couple companies that make them, and you would never know the difference.
Are you willing to face this comment? I think this Jeffrey is being too dramatic about owning animals. Oh, proof 138. How could you put up with me if you don't like drama? But anyway, my kids love and take care of our animals. If there's no harm, don't judge. So yeah, that is a good question. If the animal's already existing, I'm not going to turn away from it. Like I want to help the lives that already exist. So what's the difference between, just to stay on this point, what's if you have in front of you two suffering animals and one happens to come from the pet store and one happens to come from the shelter, is there really a difference between the two, or do you have to take a moral stance and choose the shelter dog in order to communicate the ethical nature of the matter?
Always, you are supporting puppy farms by buying anything from a pet store. Um, so, so if you go this to answer this guy's question, it has nothing to do with the animals not getting love. Um, if you pay for an animal to be born, that animal needs to eat, right? And if you buy like a cat, a carnivorous animal, if you believe in obligate carnivores, you're going to have to feed that cat. So therefore, then you have to pay. You're voting with your dollars to buy to pay into the dog and cat food industry, which is which is just as bad as the factory farming, big meat and dairy. It's all really, really, really bad, unethical stuff going on. And And so yeah, so you're there. There's a lot of negative karma. Um, you get a lot of negative karma because of all that stuff. And then you're taking an animal, and then like if you have a cat, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna have this cat inside all the time. You're taking an animal that's supposed to be outside, and you're keeping it inside. But then you're like, oh no, I'm gonna be cool to my cat, and I'm gonna let it go outside. And then that cat goes outside, kills every bird in the neighborhood, gets in fights with coyotes and other cats, and death-defying fights. Hawks can fly down and grab cats. The whole outdoor cat thing is really, really unethical. So yeah, you're supporting one of the worst industries, the puppy mill industry, cat mill industry. To go and buy a animal today is insanely unethical. And then a lot of people buy animals and they keep them in their little studio apartments, and they don't walk them enough. And people are really irresponsible with animals. I lived in West Hollywood, and man, the place that West LA is disgusting because of all the piss and shit from all the dogs. Everyone has all these dogs in this tiny metropolitan area with all these people on top of each other. These animals aren't having nice lives. And then a lot of animals, oh, I'm gonna get a dog and a cat for my kids. And these kids, like little kids, terrorize animals, and so there's so many reasons why it's unethical to own animals. Um, it's just it's not a good industry to support. You're definitely incurring a lot of karmic debt by buying it, and you're just doing it out of it's pure selfishness. I want to own and be the slave master of this animal because it makes me feel good. A lot of these animals have been, like you said, have been bred into just being miserable, and so you're paying companies to produce these miserable animals that aren't happy. You're happy because you got a cute little puppy, but this animal is not happy, and then all these other animals need to die to feed these animals throughout their life. There's plenty of reasons. It's definitely not moral or ethical. If this guy wants to come up and challenge me on whether it's moral or not, and he actually has an argument, I'd be willing to hear it. But I highly doubt he has any argument outside of we love my animals.
The only argument that people could make is when it is concerning human health and the human and how the human can benefit. But when you're talking about ethical eating, when your main concern is morality and ethics, and you stop thinking about the human body, that is when it's a 100% no brainer. You just don't kill things. And then it may be at your own detriment if you're too retarded to live at that level, because we have been enslaved into a system where we are so retarded that we don't know how to get our food without going to the grocery store. It really is not that many people. You may think that there's a lot of people because they're vocal on the internet, but obviously when you go out on the street, most of those people are not living at home and surviving on their own. So it's like a huge transition to try and get yourself the nutrients without being poisoned in some way, shape, or form, just with like microplastics and chemtrails and just all
you
of
can
the
imagine
other
the garbage they're putting in dog food.
Exactly. People don't even know. And also, like, my friend Ceiling Fan Man taught me about how people don't even realize that they're eating wood with cheese, because the grated cheese, they're bouncing it around in like cellulose, which is like wood, and that's so it doesn't stick to each other. So if you're gonna eat cheese, you get the block of it, obviously unethical, but you get the block of it and you grate it, and then at least you're not eating wood. But my point is not to eat cheese instead of grated cheese. My point is that people don't even know that they're eating wood. They just don't know what they're eating. I'm so mad that people don't know the simplest things that affect their own body.
Yeah,
And
there's been a
there's
bunch of studies lately on vegan animal food, and all these animals that are going vegan are not having the normal problems that the carnivorous diet animals are having. And everybody loses their mind when you talk about
I'm
feeding a
losing my mind.
dog
Yeah,
vegan food.
I'm losing my mind right now because I don't know the answer to that. I don't want to give people wrong information, and I don't know if a dog can be a well, yeah, I
Well,
think a
dogs
dog
aren't carnivores.
they could eat rice and stuff.
Dogs
But
have very
cats are carnivore.
similar internals to humans. It's a
Cats have
very
to eat meat
spectrum.
though, right? Cats have to eat meat though, right?
Cats only need taurine. That's the one thing that's missing from the vegan diet that they don't get. And you can get there is vegan cat food with taurine in it. They're making it different ways. Um, they're getting it ethically somehow. I'm not really sure, but that's the only kind of hard ingredient that's not easy to come by. But there's legit studies that are finding that like a lot of dogs, a lot of cats are they're not having to go to the vet as much. And going to the vet industry is a racket, and the vets tell you to feed your dogs this garbage that makes them sick, so you have to take your animal to the vet. Like it's just like what they're doing to us with the medical industry and all the food and everything. It's the same thing. They're just doing it to animals. And all us vegans here are like, hey, this is healthier, but like since carnivore and keto is so popular, no one wants to hear it. Like people are straight up vicious about vegans. I mean, people come on my podcast and they want us dead. Like it's wild how triggered people get over vegans, and it's because we remind them that they're doing something wrong. If there are no vegans here, everyone would have a clear conscience over what they're doing, but we're here to remind them that they're doing something immoral. They come to my podcast all the time and they're like, you think vegans are more moral? And I'm all, fuck yeah, we are. Like, are you out of your mind? Like, we do far less harm
Yeah.
across the board,
For me,
without a doubt.
the thing that makes me proud to use the word anarchy is specifically the self-responsibility, the
Yeah.
self-accountability, and recognizing what you are doing personally. So yeah, it hurts my feelings when I'm reminded constantly when I'm causing harm, that the impact it's having on the world around me and my spiritual path. And I want my existence to be meaningful, and just I don't like it. I don't feel good hurting other things. So I don't want to contribute it to it. So I'm not afraid to face the fact of how I feel about that.
Yeah.
And I think I just what else was I going to say about that? Yeah, self account being accountable for our actions and what we are doing is what I think gets on people's nerves about anarchy, because they always want to talk about the situation where someone needs to be taken care of. And it sounds very legitimate. And I don't have the answer to that. Believe me, if I had the answer to the model of how human beings could all get along together in 2025 right now, it would be so good that I'd be able to implement it, because that would be the nature of it being good. Everyone would have to agree with it for it to all be good and for it to work. And I don't have that model available at this time. Do you?
Yeah. No.
It sucks. It really sucks that I don't know how to fix all of the world's problems right now.
Well, there's no way of fixing everything. That's utopian, like everyone wants to hear this perfect explanation of how to fix things, and that's just not how life is. There's a balance to everything, and like we can't have the sour without the sweet. There's got to be like all these people, these activists trying to get rid of bullying. It's like, are you out of your mind? Like that's not something you can get rid of. That's a part of us, like, unfortunately, but it's something that needs to be controlled. And when we're children, we have a harder time controlling stuff like that. And they're like basic It's like basic natural law here, and people don't understand it.
What do you think about all of the like couch potatoes of today that don't really know how to exist in the world and just kind of try to be mooches off of their family? Do you think that in the 1950s it was appropriate that those people may have gotten the shit kicked out of them? Like get a fucking job, punch them in the
I
face.
feel
I'm just
bad
trying to
for
answer
them.
the
I
situation.
mean, this system is not set up in their favor in the least bit. Like if you have, okay, if you have a minimum wage, you basically are making entry level job positions illegal. So these politicians make this minimum wage, and then they talk shit about all these people that can't find work because they're not worth $21 an hour. Government regulating these things, and government creating an environment through taxation and all the regulation and all this stuff. They're creating this environment where where they're pushing us, where we don't want to do this shit. Like we're pushed into this desperate zone, and most humans that aren't completely brainwashed are going to resist a little bit. And like, I feel bad for these lazy moochers, but like, like it's not like there's a million jobs out there and they're high paying, and it's like, who wants to fucking slave their life away for 21 Federal Reserve notes that are fucking worthless? Like I don't blame people right now. But we're obviously raised by a bunch of retards, who were raised by a bunch of retards, or I'd say traumatized retards. We're all traumatized retards, and we're all raised by traumatized retards, and the government and school
We
and
shouldn't
all
be
this stuff.
victims
So it's
about it.
like,
We
what's
have to
that?
we have to take we don't be victims about it. We are traumatized
Yes.
retards that need to take control of our retardation. We need to slow down the slowing down
Yeah,
of our brains
exactly.
and reverse it.
And we need to stand up for ourselves, and we need to stand up to immoral laws, and we need to stand up more to the government and to the system, and we need to stick up for other people more, and we need to stop just filming shit and actually involve ourselves in public. And we also can't think that we're going to fucking change the world. All these guys that think they're going to change the world, it's like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, pay attention to the people around you, the people you can help the most. Like, this pipe dream of like, oh, we're going to change, I'm going to make some content and we're going to change the world. Like, I don't get it. I don't usually, like it's very weird. But we got to start looking inside more, and everybody's, like, I see just people still so they just outward point all day, and I'm like, dude, you're complaining about, you would do the same thing you're complaining about if you were put in power. Like all these people I see complaining about the government, if you were given power, you would become corrupt immediately, just like the scumbags you complain about. All these guys that think they have opinions on politics and, oh, Trump this, fucking whatever. It's like, dude, you would be worse likely if you were given that power. So maybe stop focusing so much on politics and libs and Biden and Trump and all this stuff, and actually like focus on yourself and the people around you, which is where you could make the biggest difference. This idea of like, oh, changing the world, it's just like, it's ridiculous.
I'm very grateful that I seem to have successfully put myself into a bubble of people. Probably, I mean, maybe I've sheltered myself from the reality of the world, but I'm so lucky that people know not to come to me to talk about politics, that I don't participate. They don't even try to ask me like who I would be possibly like agreeing with or who I like, because I'm just going to respond that it's all theatrics. It's a
Yeah.
stage to distract people. And I always love to reference the moment I realized it when I was 13 years old in 1997. It was Saturday Night Live. And it was the skit where Monica Lewinsky and Saddam Hussein and Clinton were all on a three-way conference call. And it was Molly Shannon, Daryl something, and Will Ferrell with Saddam Hussein, and they're all
I remember
laughing together on the phone. They're all laughing together, and then Monica says, "Saddam, did you get my beret?" And my brain exploded, and I'm like, "She's wearing a beret. He's wearing a beret. I think that they're telling us the truth." And she gave him his freaking beret. Like, and even though that might not be true, and Saddam had a beret before Monica Lewinsky was a thing, that was to me the moment where I was like, "I'm done with
Yeah.
believing in any of this shit. It's all a joke, and they're all texting each other memes right now. Hillary Clinton and Vladimir Putin. Would you go that far, or is that a bridge too far for you that they're texting each other memes?
I wouldn't be surprised. They all party together. They all vacation together and shit. But it's been wild. I've been going on this European natural law show called Europe and Natural Law. Shout out. Um, they're really cool, fans of Mark Passio, fans of natural law. And like I was over there recently, and like this guy shows up and he's talking about like common law tribunals and how this is going to be the way to change the world and all this shit. And I'm like, how am I in a Mark Passio natural law group, and there are dimwits talking about minarchism still? Like, I
That
don't
requires
fucking
enforcement.
understand it.
How is that? That's what I came to understand about common laws, because when you really get into it and people start being like, okay, I'm going to use this process to get my way. Like, there's this guy named Rob S. in Scotland, and bless his heart, he's trying to help his sister who lost her daughter like 12 years ago to their version of CPS, right? So he's trying to fix the situation and focusing so much on common law. But it's like, I feel bad for putting myself into a Scottish accent. It's like, but at the end of the road, what's gonna happen? What are they gonna do? They're gonna go with someone's gonna have a gun and take the kid back. Like, how do you enforce it?
Yeah.
Ultimately, you're going to be proving on a piece of paper that the bigger, badder government that exists is going to just have to agree with your little theatrics of court in your special jurisdiction. They still are going to have to agree so that ultimately it's enforced and the child is put back in the other person's protection. Is what I'm saying making sense? Because I don't even know.
Yeah, well, ultimately, you'd need a time machine to go back in time and not get a birth certificate, and not because, like, once CPS is around and they've taken your kid, it's too late. Like, you've already bent over and allowed them to do that. It's far too late by the time it's happened.
Like the genetically modified chicken. It's already happened.
It's already happened.
But don't deny it happened. We are in the matrix. It is a psychotic trip that we have genetically modified chickens who can provide us 10 times more eggs than they should. And some of them may be suffering because of human.
They have 3 breasts. KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, had to stop calling their business Kentucky Fried Chicken because the chickens have 3 breasts and they're no longer chickens. So they legally had to change their name from Kentucky Fried Chicken to KFC.
That's so disgusting.
And all those chickens are a mess. They have like bad respiratory problems. They're all full of pus and arsenic and disgusting bacteria. They're finding all these bacteria in the butts of carnist. It's chicken fecal bacteria that actually goes through the chicken, and it's like causing all these horrible gut problems, leaky gut. All the bacteria involved with dairy and meat just absolutely destroys your gut. And that's what a lot of people think autism might be, is a gut issue and just the brain not being fed enough nutrients because the gut isn't able to process any of the food put in it. I just did a debate with this lady, Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, who has a diet called the GAPS diet, which is basically like carnivore diet.
Like that.
Yeah,
all the parents go through their GAPS diet phase.
Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely fucking disgusting. And so I had this girl the lady on my podcast, the doctor, And I showed her, like the meta study on gut bacteria. Meta study. This is a study of thousands of studies, like across the world, tons and tons of studies. Like the best science that we have says leaky gut is caused by meat and dairy bacteria. I forgot the
Ooh,
name of it.
wow.
Bifiditis, and like I was an expert a couple of weeks ago. I was an expert on this subject. But
That
anyway,
happens to me. I become an expert on one thing on a week-to-week basis, and I
yeah,
actually transcribe things so I could search across Google Documents for my
it's us
previous.
ADHD heads. But anyway, so yeah, so like, this lady's just like, that doctor, in my opinion, is Satan. Like, I'm sorry, like it's absolutely disgusting. And I confronted her. I was like, well, what, like, you're making all these wild claims. Like, have you studied like a child along with your diet? Like, in order to be a doctor, like, this woman's a doctor. Doctors are people of science. And I'm like, you aren't using science with your diet. You've never done a study where they studied your diet against any other diet. You've never done it in 30 years. This lady's had this diet, and she's never had a scientific study back her stuff up. She's only had science contradict her stuff. And so I showed her a bunch of it, and I was just like, what are you doing? She's all, I don't believe in science. She's all, vegans need to eat roast chickens. Like, she's just, you got to watch it. It's a wild. This lady came on and talked for an hour straight. She would not let me talk. She would not let me do the interview because she knew I was vegan, and she just wanted to say what she said. And like, it was one of the craziest interviews I've ever done. But anyway, back to what we're talking about. People poisoning themselves with bacteria riddled food.
Mm-hmm.
And then saying, like this guy in your comments saying that he's never met a vegan that was healthy. They age very quickly,
We're not
which is
talking about humans in their healthiest state, because everybody is guilty of doing everything wrong and being a bad example of the label. The perfect vegan would be perfectly healthy, but the vegans and the carnivores, everybody who is sick, they're doing a bad job at whatever they think they're trying to do.
everybody's eating a different diet. The
So I think,
carnists, the carnists talk about veganism as if it's a product at the store called vegan, and we all go and eat that, and it's called vegan, and it's the same thing, and it's got the same nutrients. It's got no protein. It's got no nothing in it, and that's all what we're eating. They don't understand that every single person who's vegan is eating a different variety of things. And the most, when I was a vegan in the 90s, I was not healthy. I was a teenager who didn't really know how to feed himself. I was eating soy products, soy milk all day, boxes of red vines, and I was like, I'm healthy because I'm not eating McDonald's. But I had like hemorrhoids at like 19 years old, really bad. And like my teeth were falling out. And like, I was like obviously not healthy because I wasn't eating the right vegan diet. So the most unhealthy I've ever been was when I was vegan in the 90s. But the healthiest I've ever been was when I've been a vegan recently. And, I get blood work done. My blood work is perfect. I don't supplement shit. Don't have to supplement shit if you eat right. But this idea that like vegan is like some product and we're all eating it and we're all just deteriorating is absolutely ridiculous, because there are thousands of athletes, professional athletes that are vegan that destroy the shit out of carnists. Me and my partner, we go out and do 100-mile bike rides all day. I'm 46. Like, I got buddies that are dead, and like I'm out here doing stuff that, people in their 20s and teens, are only able to do. And I go out and we go do races, and I'll beat, I end up like usually mid-range, just above the mid average. So I beat thousands of dudes younger than me that eat meat and dairy when I go do races. It's just not true that like we're all just deteriorating. We're all just dying. Like, it's complete BS. We're the healthiest people.
I don't care about the human health in this conversation, though, because I care so much about
it's a moral thing.
Yeah.
That all the carnists want to focus on the health thing.
But in this
because they
conversation,
think that justifies the moral.
we're talking about recognizing that we have the capacity to know what our behavior does.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're talking about the concept of anarchy and the idea of do no harm, take no shit, you have to at least recognize the definition of doing harm.
It's
Are
not
your
do no
behaviors
harm, take no shit. It's do no harm, allow no harm.
Oh, that's good. That's even better. See, I
Yeah.
like the upgrades. I'm not afraid to expand my mind to improve how things could be better.
Well, a lot of carnists, a lot of like natural law followers, they'll be like, oh, well, animals are put on this earth for me. And I don't care about the karmic inventory I get from animals. And so they just, oh, I'm just going to eat meat, whatever. But they don't understand that there's a human toll also. People who work in factory farms, they go crazy. They ended up having huge. Yep. By the way, I got that from Scott Gordon. The do no harm, allow no harm. That's from Scott
That's
Gordon.
awesome.
Shout out to Scott Gordon. That dude's a badass.
Yeah.
So what was I just saying?
He saves people from Scientology.
Yeah. What was I just saying, babe? God damn it. Oh. Okay. So perpetrator induced traumatic syndrome is the specific PTSD that people who work in factory farms get. They've done studies. They've done studies on people who end up working there. They test them before, they test them during, they test them after. I don't know if you guys know, but they use a lot of prisoners in factory farms and poor people, pretty much only. And so these people, and when they open a farm in a neighborhood, domestic violence, all kinds of crime will actually raise in that area, even with people that aren't working there. Yeah, so there is very much human harm you're doing by eating meat and dairy. And all these natural law people who are like, oh fucking, I'm doing less harm because I don't enslave my neighbor, but they're on the keto diet, doubling down on the most subsidized food. I haven't gotten to the subsidies yet. So yeah, it hurts people to kill. I don't understand, like, watching a YouTube live stream isn't natural. I don't. There's karma. You're basically dumping your karmic inventory onto these other humans who are killing animals and having this massive karmic debt put on them. But you get just as big as that karmic debt because you're paying for that. You're paying that guy. You're the order teller. The order tellers are bad. The order followers are worse, but the order teller is a close second. Yeah.
No, I'm glad you brought up the order follower, because earlier when you were talking, I was like, okay, we got to bring that up, that it really sucks to have to choose between two things possibly suffering in order to cut the thing at the source, right? So it's kind of like the idea of the order follower is the source of the problem, and that's where you need to cut it. So we need to make sure that we cut the funding to the pet shops so that they don't even exist in the first place. Not that we don't care about the animals. So it's really about cutting the source. Nothing can be done overnight. So that's why it's interesting to me that whenever I decide to discuss this topic on a level with someone as advanced as yourself, is that people get really triggered. It's like, oh, wait, but this, but that. And they try to turn away from such a simple concept, because if you recognize the concept and sit with it for a while, then it trips you out and you start thinking about all of the harm that you're causing every day and the butterfly effect that it has out onto like the whole entire species and our consciousness level. What do you think about the idea of the ages and the Yuga cycle? Do you think that human beings are going through a natural cycle of the devolution and evolution, and that at some point there was a golden age where people didn't even need technology because we were so in step with each other that we were telepathic, and that now in the Kali Yuga we are so low and retarded that we need quote unquote cell phones to communicate? Do you think that that could be a thing?
I would almost defer to Allie on that one. That's a little out of my range. I I think there's been many resets. I think technology has been reset on us several times. Um, I was into the whole Tartarian thing for a little bit, which kind of it's very similar to flat Earth. It's like it's a very fun rabbit hole, and it definitely opens your eyes to things that you may not have ever considered before.
It's an incorrect thought experiment. That's how I look at
Yeah,
it.
exactly. They're both kind of dead end rabbit holes that people really like getting stuck in for a long time, and they end up being distractions from
Real
reality.
shit like
Yeah, yeah,
megaliths, pyramids. That's not Tartaria, but that's something. There's
it's
something going
something.
on there. It's just, I think that Tartaria is this label that has been put in this. It's like a manufactured psyop to distract people from alternative history and the idea of what really went on in the past, and to get people to focus on really dumb shit like the world fairs. Like, if people knew the incubator babies, for example, like, I feel
That
so
shit was pretty
sorry.
weird.
The incubator babies, it was actually a very cool dude, and the hospitals didn't believe in incubators yet, and so he just charged people at the fair to fund putting the babies in incubators, and thousands of babies' lives were saved. And who would have thought that 100 years later on the stupid internet, people would be calling it fake, or like evidence of like genetically engineered babies or Cabbage Patch babies coming from nothing. It's so stupid. Like, that really did actually happen, and I just feel so bad for it, because there's lots of people that wouldn't be here today if their parents weren't saved by that guy. What was his name? There's a book
There's
called
also the orphan trains and all that. They were definitely bringing lots of orphans west from Europe and the East Coast. There's
Yes,
definitely
but
a
that's
lot
not
of
evidence
weird
of a
stuff.
civilization called Tartaria. That's
Yeah,
the
for sure. No, the Tartarian thing was really crazy, but it definitely like a lot of the OG Tartarian heads went way too overboard with it, and we kind of got disillusioned with the community very quickly, just because everyone turned into like Justin Pedini and like just like completely talking about like space aliens and Nephilim and all kinds of stuff, which whatever, but it's just not my thing. But it definitely got me more interested in history and more open-minded about history, and just like I kind of like appreciate, I don't know, architecture more for some reason. Like I don't like all the San Francisco really weird shit happened there. Like all the research around the resets. I like it's kind of it's interesting, and I would not be. I think there have been resets. I don't think they have anything to do with Tartaria.
exactly.
But Tartaria might have been something that that are the powers that be wiped out, and they just wanted to disappear it from history because they didn't want us to know what actually happened, which is how things happen these days. You have history being written by the victor. We don't ever hear the actual story of how things went down because we just hear their version of how things went down, and this is usually some sort of propaganda, like the World War II stuff. But that's a whole different
Yeah.
stories. Getting back to the vegan stuff, carnists hate, especially fiscally conservative, libertarian, or anarchist carnists, really don't like hearing about the subsidies that go into the meat and dairy industry. So when I was a carnist, I had goats, because I had my daughter, and instead of formula from the store, I decided to get goats and do like really nice um, holistic formula or something.
You were a single dad?
No, um, but I was the heavy lifter. I was the
She just
guy
didn't
who'd
want
deal
to
with the goat.
breastfeed? She didn't want
Huh?
to breastfeed? The mom didn't want to breastfeed?
It's not that they don't want to normally. It's that it's very hard and sometimes impossible. Breastfeeding is a very difficult
I
process.
can't even imagine it, and I have no experience for the
Yeah,
record.
it's
Can't even imagine.
shocking. A lot harder than you'd think.
It's
You need
weird.
to have like the mental in line with the physical, and you have to have the physicality also. And sometimes if one of those things isn't there, it just doesn't work. So anyway, when I
It's so
had those goats, I had goats and chicken, and feeding them an organic diet was shockingly expensive, right? And owning enough land to have these animals costs a lot of money. So you got to spend money on the land. You got to spend money on the genetically modified animal that has been subsidized by the state. Um, the only food worth feeding to an animal. It was a Nubian. It was a cross between the Nubian and a pygmy. It was like a bigger pygmy, and it like that breed. They make like a lot of milk and they're small. So they're like they're smaller than a Nubian. But anyway, um, so just so vitamins, veterinary, food, water, land, all of that. I got a reality check because I was like, oh, how much could it cost really to own just like two goats, a mom goat and a baby goat? But it was insane the amount of money it costs. And so I was taught, that was my little economics class, in how much it costs and how economically insane it is to raise animals, to chop them up and send them off to be sold. Our government spends bazillions and bazillions of dollars, billions and billions and billions of dollars propping up the meat and dairy industry that is economically impossible of making a profit, because it costs so much to grow the animal that you'd never make money. So the government subsidizes corn, rice, or no, corn, soy, all this stuff. They subsidize the food that these animals eat. They give farmers all kinds of subsidies. They do. It's pretty much, if the government pulled out. That's what's funny. Like, people be like, "You're trying to make everyone vegan," and it's like, well, when the government gets too broke or too fucked up to pay for subsidies anymore, you're going to be vegan whether you like it or not, because you're not going to be willing to pay $200 for a pound of beef. It's going to
Well,
go
yeah.
back to being the king's food, the elite's food, because it's economically insane to grow animals simply to eat them.
I wouldn't be able to kill, so I just wouldn't be able to, even if I did want to. I would just unfortunately pass away in that situation if
You just
I
die.
didn't have. I mean, no, I mean, if I was required to kill in order to eat right now today, I don't have a setup right now to get the pumpkin seeds and the hemp seeds and everything, and I don't trust that I would survive it, and that's my current knowledge. Does that mean that I'm not trying to become better and more of a be better at surviving every day? Of course not. But I think I only have like maybe 5 months of food. And I think they say that it takes like 4 days in societies for people to become like cannibals once they become hungry. It's like really horribly terrifying.
Yeah.
Do you not believe that research, or how do you feel about that research about
I don't think that people are gonna. I don't think if the government disappears, people are gonna wake up the next day and be psychos. I think people are gonna go to work, because guess what? When they go to work, they're going to be getting paid more because the feds won't be taking taxes out of their money anymore. So, like, I don't believe in the greater bad of humanity, that if the federal government disappeared, that somehow anything would change in the least bit, if not for the better. Government's been holding us back for 200 years. They've been like, do you understand how many people would have a job if all the job regulation was gone? If people could start a business out of their garage, if people could get a job, if people can, if an employer wants to employ someone, if that person isn't it better that they have a job for $10 an hour rather than not having a job? Like, once government's gone, it's going to be the best thing for the job market that's ever happened. So I don't think that everything's just going to be chaos because the feds are gone. Like, who the fuck? The feds don't even do shit to us. They're mostly just in our heads.
What did you think on March 11th of 2020 when they're like, human beings stay inside your houses? Like,
It was pretty
I
crazy.
lost hope.
I upgraded my life 10 times over that time. I had a great time. I know some people didn't, but like, it was an interesting experience. I was working at a restaurant in Hollywood, and we had a line down the block every night. And the next day, there wasn't a single car on the block we were on. Like, it was definitely a crazy time.
Did
I
you wear a
met.
mask?
I had to at the restaurant, but not outside that.
So you weren't so far that you to quit your job. You're like, okay, since I decided this is my job, I'm contractually agreeing to be here, and I'm going to follow my employer's orders because I decided to.
I wore a mask in order to buy a shitload of cryptocurrency.
See, at least you're being like real about it, because it's good to know like what people do in exchange for what. For
Yeah,
what?
and I was able to work during that whole time and just stack freaking, stack coins basically, and make my position. It's like, 'cause so many people just like gave up on life. They're like, oh, got all emo and like depressed, and just like everybody gained weight. Like, everyone got like gained the COVID-19 pounds, and it's just like, dude, me and Allie did nothing but upgrade and get ahead during that time. And that was the first idea when that shit happened. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna take advantage of this. I'm gonna fucking bust my ass,
I feel like came out on
during
top
this
of that
time.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know this person, the honest doubter, who said, I was utterly shocked at how many vegans were all in for jabs? Never mind, pharmaceutical testing is one of the most vicious fates for animals. Did you
I
know this
do know
person?
Honest Doubter. I got a
Oh,
bunch of friends in your
I want to
in
tell
the
honest doubter. Yeah. That's awesome. Honest doubter, I want to tell you that I was on Modern Day Debate with Alex Stein. I think I was against, I don't even remember what side I was on, but no, I won the debate. I forgot even what the debate was for, but I clapped for myself. I claimed myself the winner of the debate when I asked the vegan if they took the jab. And they took the vaccine. So I'm like, so you allowed animal testing, and there's like aborted
Dude.
fetal cells. Do you even know? And I don't even remember what their response was. But if anyone cares about that silly debate I did I was against the vegans about something. It was like, are vegans morally, I don't remember. I'm so sorry, but I don't understand exactly what honest debater doubter is saying here, and that's how I won the debate in Modern Day Debate.
Yeah, I can't. I don't understand vegans. No, what's cool, what's kind of fun about being a vegan anarchist is that we have very unique position to talk to liberal vegans, and convincing a liberal vegan that anarchy is more vegan than being a statist is definitely kind of like not that hard of a task. Which is kind of cool, just being like someone who's not a lefty vegan. That's what's kind of been fun with my show. Everyone just assumes because you're vegan, you're like a leftist or something. So it's kind of fun to go and
agree with each other. Could you give
what's
us
that?
or that all vegans agree with each other? I bet there's inside
Yeah.
trauma between vegans. Could you go deep into disagreements within vegans? Like, is there a disagreement about a particular ingredient or a way that something is done? Like
Well, I mean,
raw vegan versus other kinds of vegan.
usually like the leftists, the subsidy stuff, obviously, because like, or just like I kind of I throw a little bit of beef towards like big vegan YouTubers, because like generating a shitload of tax money that goes towards subsidies in their capitalistic.
Oh, so making money on YouTube isn't vegan. I don't
Well,
mean to say that
paying
like it's
taxes
not
is definitely not vegan. Paying taxes is definitely not vegan.
and you automatically pay taxes if you
And you pay
monetize.
taxes by being a YouTuber.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry I monetized.
No, I'm
I
too,
have
but I mean
membership.
it's like $20 a month. Like I'm talking about like Earthling Ed who's making millions of dollars. You know, like they're generating quite a lot of money for the death machine, you know. And then these guys, like, I don't know, I guess Earthling Ed made a video about conspiracy theorists, but it was kind of like pointed at like right wingers a little bit. And it's just like, bro, like, are you out of your mind? Like, you know, how about you focus on taxation and how much taxation everyone's like, that's actually like directly going towards animal cruelty,
Yeah.
like directly. Believing and talking about conspiracy theories isn't, you know, like it's like, who cares? Let us have our fun speculating. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to, you know, speculating doesn't kill animals. But
Will you tell me some of your favorite things to eat, some of your go-to snacks in an emergency, what you can possibly take on the road? Because people usually, and I'm spot talking about myself, I will make the most mistakes if I'm on a road trip and something goes wrong and an avocado isn't right at the right time. So, what kind of tips can you give that you've learned over the years for ethical eating?
Instapot for sure. Instapot rice cooker. Buy 20-pound bags of rice. They're like $20 and it's like 3 weeks worth of food. Rice is amazing. You can make it so many different ways. Sauces, lots of sauces for rice. When we buy vegetables and stuff, we get big amounts. Like we'll eat like 3 pounds of broccoli for dinner. It's like less. You got like going vegan. You kind of less have to like think like, oh, I need to have this 5-course meal that has like 5 different things. Like and it's not necessarily good to eat that way when you eat a bunch of things at once, a bunch of different things. It's not necessarily good for you. So like eating more like bulk items, just to keep things cheap, obviously too. All the garbage vegan food, you know, it's fun. It's like novelty food for people that are getting into veganism. Occasionally we might have some sort of burger somewhere, but it's not something we eat that often.
You would have a Beyond Burger because I would draw a hard line and I'm a kind of against the processed fake meats because
Well,
just
the
because of
processed fake meats are processed as much as bread is. So I don't
true.
really have that bad of a problem compared to the amount of processing that goes into, let's say, a beef burger. You know, it's pretty. I mean, obviously, processed food. Like, if we're going to be truthful here, there are perfectly fine processed foods, and there are some that are bad. And most of the processing, you know, like if you take a piece of fruit, pull the sugar out of it, and you eat the fruit, sure, it's not as good as if you just ate the piece of fruit. But that sugar isn't necessarily bad for you. A lot of people, you know, like refined sugar, right? That's like, refined sugar. Refined sugar is crushed sugar cane, juiced sugar cane, run through a filter and left out in the sun. That doesn't necessarily make it like battery acid, like it's going to burn through you. All processed foods are bad, is a fallacy. Most processed stuff is not bad for you. And then some definitely are, like obviously oils, anything, like the seed stuff. Like seeds are very bad. They have a bad fat to calorie ratio. And like avocado, you mentioned avocado. I don't like appealing to nature often, but in nature you'd only have avocados once a year. A lot of these seeds you'd only have once a year. You wouldn't be eating them all year.
Yeah.
That's not the greatest seeds. Anything oily or fatty, Like obviously oil, in nature, you wouldn't be coming across that much oil. All oils gum up your insides, and most oil we've had pushed on us simply as a cooking aid. I know a lot of people like olive oil, but it's pretty rank. It doesn't taste that great to me. But I was big into oil,
I
and
feel like, can I just say, I think your olive
I
oil
know
must
you
have
love
spread out.
oils.
So wait, no, I'm not saying I love oils. I'm just saying that if you were to taste the olive oil that I think is made the way it's supposed to be, that's cold pressed from like the right kind of tree in the right kind of region, I just want the data to know, oh, is this the same as the other olive oil? Because I feel like the people who give the really quality olive oil, it feels different, but that could be brainwashing because I like
Yeah, that's probably
I,
placebo. Fat you eat is fat you wear. Any fat you eat, there's no such thing as healthy fats. There's healthier, like olive oil is a little bit healthier than other oils. Like it doesn't raise your LDL as much. Um,
So wait, what do you use to cook? What's your cooking instrument?
no oil, no oil.
That's
You just learn
hardcore.
to cook without it. It's not that hard. If
It's
you're
I'm
already vegan, it
brainwashed.
shouldn't be that hard.
I feel like things need to be made wet before they can be cooked. Like, how do you cook things without putting the wetness on it? How do you
Alicia in the
cook?
chat, I think she found some sort of atomizing agent. But that kind of sounds weird. We just don't use oil, and like you just figure it out after a while. You just steam
Well,
your vegetables.
since I was born, I knew that mayonnaise was disgusting, and I've never agreed to it, and I would never have a sandwich with mayo on it. So I am already used to an idea of a dry sandwich. And to
Yeah,
me, the juice of a tomato is enough to wet the
yeah,
herbs. If you put the right dry herbs on the tomato, then when you're chewing it, it becomes like a sauce in itself.
yeah, yeah. So I've always used oil, but when I started dating Allie, I came to her house and I was gonna cook for her, and she was just like, "Get out of my kitchen!" And she was like, "I don't use oil," and I was like, "You don't use oil?" And it's been fine. We've survived, and like oil. That's like a lot of people get a lot of fat in their diet from oil, and fat. You just don't want any fat in your diet.
Have you become independent? Could you survive as a vegan without Alicia, or are you enslaved to Alicia's
No,
cooking?
Alicia is in the chat. Allie is my partner.
Oh, sorry,
I
Allie.
was I actually I have kind of become a little dependent on her. She is such a good cook.
Right.
I used to cook a lot. I've always cooked a lot. I was vegan in the 90s. There were no vegan restaurants, there's no vegan food in the 90s. You had to cook when I was a kid, I had to cook, or else you weren't vegan. But I can survive. But she has spoiled the shit out of me because she's unbelievably good cook, and yeah. But like she's taught me. I mean, I'd definitely be able to survive because I was pretty good before, but she's taught me so much. Or I'm just watching her and everything she makes. Um,
I think I could. I think that I have something. I think I have a mental disorder. Like I'm a picky eater, but that just means that I could survive on like the weirdest thing, like rice and peanut butter. Like I think I could mix those things and just eat it and enjoy it even and be like,
yeah,
okay, this isn't a normal thing, but I could eat those two plain things together for survival purposes. And now that I mentioned it, I think I'm going to try it. I think I'm going to make rice peanut butter balls. But are you against peanuts for their oil?
peanuts aren't great.
Okay,
Peanuts are
talk to
not
me about it.
great things to eat. Again, back to the calorie versus fat ratio is really bad. Most of them are genetically modified. Very, very, very fatty. I don't know if you care. Some people that's not a goal. Um,
No, no, I
I
need to lose weight, so I should
Yeah,
cut.
I would get rid of any oil you can from your diet, and you're
I want.
already the five things you've told me have been seeds, avocado, oil, peanut butter,
I
and
know
like
I'm
all of
spoiled.
that is bad.
I know. Okay, this is such
Moderation's
a
key,
healthy.
true. Like you could still eat this stuff, but just not that crazy. There's a doctor, the raddest doctor in the world, Dr. Peter Rogers. He's a Stanford medical doctor. He's vegan. I'll send him your links. You will
How do I eat? How do I deliver my alfalfa sprouts and my broccoli microgreens and my shredded lettuce and my how do I deliver those to myself? Like what lemon juice? Do you like lemon juice on your greens? Apple cider vinegar?
ACV's good. Coconut aminos. I have this this spicy Thai peanut sauce. That's the only thing really peanutty I have
And that's like
that
white
I use a
vinegar most.
lot.
I wonder if we have the same one. I'll have to send you a picture of my spicy Thai peanut sauce.
Yeah. So sauces, I'm the sauce guy. Like I have so many sauces. That's like a main, just having like different flavor, like different vinegars and like what's that? There's like
I gotta be honest, I don't like the taste of vinegar that much unless it's mixed with something like a lemon.
yeah.
I don't know, or a sugar, a little bit of a sugar. I don't like sugar though, and I feel guilty eating sugar, but I'd rather eat
No,
sugar.
sugar is the best thing in the world. There's
Okay,
nothing
talk to
wrong
me
with
about,
sugar.
but not Reese's
Every
peanut
cell in your body runs off sugar. Yeah, if not sugar connected to fat. Everybody blames like they're you're eating donuts, you're eating sugar. Sugar is gonna kill you. No, it's the fat that kills you. That's in the
Tommy.
donut.
Tommy, when Tommy lived here, he ate so much sugar and he's not fat. So
No, me and Allie are not fat. We eat sugar all day. Beans on rice is a really good base for all of your stuff that you want to eat. Like I was saying, rice, and then if you make like pot bees, like where you like soak the beans overnight, like you like make like a homemade bean batch. That's like the best. Like she'll make beans like, and she'll open up the pot and it's like like I get like possessed. It smells so good. But yeah, rice on beans, and then just different variations of stuff in that rice and beans. That's like a really good base for a low fat diet that you're gonna like. You're just gonna lose weight off that. Like you got to get the base. You got to get the fatty stuff out of your base, like your peanut butter and your nuts and all that. That can't be, what you're basing your plate off of.
I have
You want to
two.
definitely go. What's that?
I just want to. I'm sorry. I just want to remember that I have two more questions
Okay,
here.
go.
Hold on. No, I just want to write them down before I get.
Okay, yeah, I have to write stuff down or else I forget.
I actually thought I was muted when I said I have two more questions. I'm so sorry.
You were
I didn't interrupt you. I didn't want to
No.
interrupt you at that time. I know I'm guilty of it earlier.
The high protein diet is a marketing scam. This fat stuff. So meat and dairy has been going down. Sales have been going down for like 10 years. So marketers for the meat and dairy industry, what do? They pay influencers to tell people to eat more meat. So that's what this whole keto carnivore thing is that we're dealing with right now. And so where was I going with that? So, protein. So the high protein diet is a scam. Protein turns to fat. It putrefies in your stomach. It will turn into fat. You don't need it. You don't need as much as, like all these dudes are like eating like 600 grams of protein a day. They're like out of their minds. They're going to fucking die. Like these carnivore guys are all going to die. It's very sad and very scary. I'm a part of a bunch of these carnivore groups just to watch what they say to each other. And there's this like kids carnivore group, and these people are just poisoning themselves and poisoning their children. And it's scary, satanic shit. So anyway, carbs, humans are like starchivores, right? Like just like
I would love to know that to be true. That would be extremely convenient for me because I love
starchivores. That is why you love them so much, is because we are made to eat starch.
I don't want to be ashamed of it anymore.
No, you don't have to be. So, so yeah, sugar, all these autoimmune diseases, all these people have, it's from sugar phobia. We've been raised our whole lives that sugar is bad, and it's actually what runs every cell in our body. So avoiding it like people do is really, really bad, because especially with women, your thyroid is heavily regulated by carbohydrates. And so like all these ladies on keto, they're just frying out their thyroids, and your thyroid controls your hormones, and like controlling hormones is pretty important. Um, your body runs off ATP. Okay.
He's saying that's what sugar converts to. It
Sugar
converts to
converts to
ATP, which
ATP.
is
No, it converts to muscle glycogen.
oh, ATP doesn't convert through. No, ATP converts through the plants to sugar in the plants. Is that what he was trying to say?
I don't know. It wasn't
There's
very
the
relevant.
process of in the process of photosynthesis. Hold on, I'm going to check my work. Let me
Do
ask
it.
ChatGPT. In the process of photosynthesis, does ATP transfer into sugar found in plants? Oh my God, I'm so scared. I hit enter. Okay, great question. In the process of photosynthesis, ATP does not directly turn into sugar, but it helps power the reactions that produce sugar. So that's the
You know,
cool.
these guys claiming to lose all this weight on keto, they're really just losing muscle glycogen. They're losing the energy out of their muscles. So it's like you're basically neutering your body. You're neutering your performance. You're starving yourself basically. It's definitely a disordered eating, just like anorexia or anything like that. And this whole fat adaptation thing, it's all big meat and dairy scam.
Well, there's so much debate and division and emotional reactions
Oh
tied
yeah.
to eating. It's pretty much the worst subject that anyone could ever cover, like the aftermath of covering diet. Anyone with an opinion on diet is really just going on to the battleground of whether or not they know what they're talking about. And I personally do not feel qualified to give anyone my opinion because I don't feel like I'm in a perfect state of health.
Yeah.
So what I like to do in this, in this current state is I share all of the ideas out there and I tell people what I'm doing and how I feel about it. And I just don't want people to get upset, but I want them to consider. I want people to be able to listen to a point of view and be open to thinking, oh, wow, I wonder if there's some value here, or if I'm just going to turn away because I feel uncomfortable, because it's a very uncomfortable subject to talk about the suffering that's taking place because of human behavior. You can't turn away from it. And a lot of people, they feel like they have to just in order to survive, in order to just go through the motions of everyday life. It's really hard. But to me, I'm the kind of person where I'm obsessed with like focusing on issues that need to be addressed. And I enjoy speaking about different ways to resolve things. So when it comes to in this current state of division, when someone comes to me personally, because all I can do is affect my actions, and you're here to affect me in this conversation today. When people say, I'm experiencing this medical issue, and what is your opinion on what I could do? Now, if I refer them to another doctor, they might tell them to eat meat, and I'm responsible for that. And
Yeah.
if I tell them to eat the wrong diet, then I could be responsible for them getting worse. So, how do you feel about my current approach where I'm just like, look, I'm not an expert, but you might want to try fasting. And then it's like takes everything out of the equation and they can just get out of that acute situation. Do you have a view on fasting? I'll let you, since you're making that face, I'll let you just address it now instead of packing you with a bunch of questions at once.
Okay. I fasted for several years. Again, it's going to neuter your performance. You won't be able to run more than a mile. It's definitely something that can be abused. I think fasting, a lot of people will go vegan and then fast at the same time and fail. A lot of people will go back to eating meat because they think they failed veganism because they were doing a lot of fasting and under eating. Fasting can turn into something dangerous very quickly. I know when I fasted, I convinced myself that I was more energetic, but I can't really say if I ever was. I think I would tell people, and I obviously do tell people to go vegan. Um, that Dr. Peter Rogers, I mentioned that I had interviewed before. He's amazing for newcomers. He is a actual medical doctor, badass, super badass doctor, and he's very funny. And he was like an athlete growing up, and he is the best person to send people towards. But the fasting thing, I mean, it's another. I mean, while there is, I've looked at all the studies. There's very little studies that support a lot of the claims, um, and you are again you're starving yourself because if you change the word uh, from fasting to starving, it sounds completely different, but you're basically doing the same thing. It's disordered eating. I personally, I recommend people carb the fuck up all day long. Eat carbs all day. Every cell in your body runs off carbs. This starving your body to fix it, it kind of sounds like regenerative farming. Like, oh, the cows destroyed that field, so let's go put more cows on it. You know, like I don't. I tell people to exercise and go vegan and eat loads of carbs and not to avoid sugar and just to avoid fat and sugar as much as you can. You don't have to avoid all of it. Just don't think that you need 100 grams of protein and X amount of fat in your day because every single gram of oil you eat sticks to your body. It doesn't go through you. Carbs go through you. If you eat too much sugar, you piss it out. You eat too much fat, it goes everywhere. And then you have to work really hard to get rid of it. So why even put it on board, you know? It's in all of our food, and we do kind of have a little bit of an addiction to the taste and that like umami and everything. But dude, when I eat stuff with oil in it now, it grosses me the fuck out. My stomach gets weird, like because I've gotten used to not eating because your stomach will get used to whatever your body will get used to whatever you're doing to it, right? You know, and it's called McDougall's revenge. There's this awesome doctor, Dr. McDougall, that I was raised on his protocols. My mom raised me on his protocols growing up, vegetarian. But it's called McDougall's revenge. Once you go really healthy, once you do anything like drink alcohol, or like eat something crappy, you feel it a lot more than you did before because your body just gets used to being poisoned, and it'll just numb you out enough to you know, that you don't notice. And then once it's gone, you go and try it again, and it's like, oh god, like I can't eat that crap anymore. Like my body just will not take it. Like anything with oil in it. Now when I eat stuff with oil, it feels like like I'm eating something like a, you know, like garden burgers or your Beyond Burgers, right? Like I could have like one, but like this, like if it's like another one a week later, like I just feel like I'm eating something I shouldn't be eating, and it's the oil that's in it. Like, and I've noticed it. You know, like anything I eat now with oil is just like a gut bomb. Where before I didn't even notice it because I was just bombarding my body with this garbage all the time, and now it's gotten used to eating what it's supposed to be eating. You know, a whole whole food plant-based diet with like, you know, like mostly fruits and vegetables, and like even we try and do raw till 5 every day or raw till 4. We try and not eat anything in the mornings. Just do like smoothies and stuff in the mornings.
Do you ever produce recipes for your listeners?
I don't. I was just someone
Isn't
just
that causing harm? You're
oh, it's
harming
funny.
us.
2 times recently, someone like people got mad at me because I don't give recipes out. And it's like, dude, I'm out here in the battlegrounds fighting carnists to the death. And you want me to come up with fucking recipes,
I want to know
like
what to put in my smoothie.
I'm debating farmers about crop deaths. I don't have
Oh
time.
my gosh, that's absurd.
That's
You're right.
Allie and Alicia. Alicia in the chat. Alicia went vegan on my podcast. She's turning into a super awesome beast vegan. She's got a lot of she takes pictures of all of her food, and it's like she could have like a freaking she could do like a legit TV show cooking channel, because her food looks beautiful. But I would get a hold of Alicia, who's in the chat right now, if you want to get some awesome, or Allie, who's also in the chat. They're the ones. I'm not cooking these days. I just do the podcast thing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was so proud of my salad, and I know now it's what's making me fat. But it's good to recognize the truth. Maybe that's
every food that you describe to me, you should try and moderate on, because all that I know, and it thinks you're like, oh, I can eat seeds. Seeds are so healthy. You think seeds are so healthy, but for their weight, they are extremely fatty, and that fat takes a lot to get rid of.
I'll be fat before I would kill an animal, though.
Yeah, that's fine. And but like eat as much sugar as you want, but make sure you're going on hikes and stuff like that also.
That reminds me, I wanted to say, David Avocado Wolf, he's a friend of mine, and I have insider information about him from hanging out with him.
I'd love to interview him.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I had hummus, and I thought that he would want my hummus. And then he said that he didn't like beans because it gave him a stomach ache. And he does fasting, like groups.
He does all kinds of goofy stuff.
You have no idea. I love him to death, but he is like the craziest. He goes at everything so hard, and he will be doing so many different things all at once. It's unreal. And he's so fun to be around. And I have this joke that he's like a healing device, because when you're around him, he's been
around a long time.
But he does like olive oil too. It's so interesting. So my friend Kelsey went to his house on Kauai, because they were both there. And I introduced them to each other because she's a hairstylist. And so I was like, ooh, Kelsey, I can't wait to find out how your experience is, because he's like the coolest hippie ever. And his farm, Noni land, is amazing. And so she told me, and I thought this was so hilarious, that he's got a bunch of friends with him helping him to make the cacao, but she said it was comical in how it looked like slave labor, because it's a very difficult process.
Yeah.
And she's like, she's a
little sketchy.
She's like, Rose. She's like, you're not going to believe this, but I didn't know where to find water. All they were doing were drinking sugarcane juice.
Ooh,
I'm like,
good.
That sounds like hell. But it reminded me of that when you were talking about sugar, because all these people are so healthy. They are just chugging sugarcane juice.
They've been lying to us forever about sugar.
And he also produces honey, though. So how do you feel about that? He has his Noni land honey from these bees that get to enjoy the beautiful flowers in the gardens that he created. Mixed feelings, conflicted feelings. You're trying to be diplomatic. Give it to me straight. No holds barred.
I avoid honey. But that's not I'm not like screaming from the rooftops about people eating honey, like a lot of, I don't know, like you said, a lot of the honey industry, like is, that there's a lot of money that goes into actually like keeping the things healthy and keeping the bloodlines going and actually like preserving the beehives and stuff like that. But I don't know, like there's also a dark side to the bee industry, to the honey industry. And you're going back to it's the same argument about the chicken. That bee is spending its life out there, risking its life, collecting resources, collecting energy to come back and store. Then those bees want to use that over the winter. That's their food source. So it's not like, oh, well, we're not hurting the bees by taking the honey. Like there is a problem with it.
Yeah, there's a line you crossed where it stresses them, and
correct.
they're sensitive.
Yeah, but bees are less sentient than most animals, and like some vegans don't have a problem taking honey. I if someone was eating eggs from their chickens, I would say they're not vegan. But like if David Avocado Wolf has his beautiful farm with his happy bees, and like it's not, I'm not going to scream at him about it, but I don't,
And
like
it's
I
not
know
always
some people
available.
would. Huh?
It tells me something that it's not always available. It's not like he's forcing the situation so that it's always available. It's like, okay, so I haven't directly asked him. I'm like, okay, do you only sell extra? But it seems like he is selling it based on the production from the
Yeah,
natural
that's not cool.
situation. You don't
That's
think
not
it's
really
cool
cool. I don't think that's
to
really cool.
sell the honey? You don't think it's cool from his?
No.
He should only be keeping it for himself. Though, isn't that selfish? Or he should be shipping
No,
it
he
to.
should be leaving it for the bees. They need that
That's
shit.
very true.
They're not making it for the humans. Like they're making it to have energy over the winter.
Okay, I'm not trying to change the subject just because you said something negative about David Avocado Wolf, but I just have written down here Dr. Morse. He's a doctor that talks about only eating fruit, who's been recommended to me a
Dr.
bunch of
Morse,
times
do you know
to
Dr.
have
Morse?
a guest on the show. It's basically he's talking about eating just fruit, and there's a lot of people that call themselves fruitarians, which is different than vegan.
Frugivores, fruitarians. They are, in my opinion, a product of imbalance. They are pretty extreme, and the frugivore vegans tend to be the ones that like the carnivores use to use against vegans. Um, I I I mean, if I lived in Hawaii or Costa Rica on a finca that had all the plants, we'd probably be frugivore. But I don't think 90% of frugivores out there. Patty. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's Patty's guy. Yeah. We have Patty Logger, who's on the One Great Work Network. She's a friend of our show. She's a regular on the show sometimes. I think she used to work with him. He's the fasting guy, isn't he? Is he the fasting guy or the frugivore guy? Yeah, she's
He's
the frugivore
frugal.
guy.
Fruit.
Yeah. So
Sure.
I don't know. I don't see. I haven't seen many success like the full frugivore thing is a bit extreme in my opinion.
Oh, well, don't even. Okay, well, listen to this. What do you think about the people that feel that they've been spiritually called to breatharianism,
Breatharians and
where they're going to
a lot of frugivores won't drink water, and that's really bad.
I love drinking water. I like to still. What's your
Yeah.
what water you drink? Because I respect people for whatever water they drink, but I do distilled with some shungite in it.
Yeah, we do RO and distilled when we can get it.
I have a
But
countertop.
we're water nerds. We had a period of time this last summer where we had to drink tap water, and both of us got sick as shit.
Oh, I would never even. I don't even know what. I don't know what it would do to me.
No,
Where
we
did
were
you get it?
we're me and Allie own gold mines. We're gold prospectors. Like we actually own gold mines. We have equipment and we go out and do gold
So
stuff
fun.
like old timers. Yeah.
Cool.
And we were out at one of our mines for a couple weeks, and we were not able to filter our water. And it was like that's probably the biggest assault on our bodies that we've done. And in the 5 years we've been together was like this short amount of time that we had to drink some questionable water, and I'm not going to go into detail, but it did some crazy shit. And then we ended up talking to Dr. Peter Rogers about it. And there's all these, phytoestrogens? No, what are they called? Not phytoestrogens in soy. Oh, what did he call them? There's all kinds of gross shit in water. But there's estrogen. There's human or like mammalian estrogen, and that shit'll just fuck you up in all kinds of different ways. And it was really wild, huh? But yeah, I don't recommend drink. I mean, and that's what's it's so gross. That's what's like, dude. Most of the people in this country drink tap water.
That is so unreal to me. I just gag at the thought of it. And if I was at a hotel, I would never be there in the first place without making sure I had some other alternative, anything other than tap water. That is
Yeah.
the main priority, like before going to a hotel from an airport. It's just part of the process
Yeah.
of traveling. I wouldn't put myself in this situation. But if in a like a zombie apocalypse at the hotel situation, I had to choose between like the Aquafina and the soda. Like I don't see them as different, really. I mean, obviously the soda's worse, but I like just feel so much shame and guilt and damage to myself either way because I know that it's all a scam with that
Hey,
water that has fluoride.
if it's a real sugar soda, there's nothing wrong with that, but nothing has sugar in it anymore. You can't,
Right.
it's so funny because they're like, oh, like, oh, sugar free on all the sodas. And it's like, they haven't had sugar in soda for decades. It's all been gross ass high fructose corn syrup, which, and like being a sugar connoisseur, like when I drink something with high fructose corn syrup in it, it's like, it's jank. Like it's not, you could tell it's not real. It's like cane sugar is literally crack. Like it's so good. And you can tell the difference. And the high fructose just doesn't cut it. But there's no like if you get a real sugar soda, oh, those are good.
Are you
Holy
from
crap.
SoCal or NorCal?
SoCal.
Okay, well, so don't you haven't you ever gone to like Mexico to get a Mexican soda? Because
They
that's what
sell them
like an
all over here.
example
All
of
the Mexican Cokes are amazing.
yeah, that's what all it's so funny because at my best friend who is like the vegan I know who's the best of all the vegans I know from
Yeah.
childhood.
Yeah.
That's how when I think about her, I think about Ashley, she's going down to Mexico from Santa Barbara for the some soda, you
For
know,
some
and
soda. Yeah.
it seems I mean, I'm sure it wasn't just for the soda, but that's just like one of the things that she's gonna bring back with her, you know, she's getting her fix. But
Yeah,
yeah, so
the real sugar soda is amazing. It's
what
nothing
was
like
the
it.
are you familiar with the ideas put forward in the chat here about Victor Schauberger and the idea
Victor
of like
Schauberger.
implosion? It's like the idea of putting your water through a vortex to structure it so that it's
Oh no, all
healthy.
that shit's bullshit. All the water scams are bullshit.
Okay,
Hydrogen water, all that stuff's garbage.
I
Kangen,
want
it's
to give
all
you a
scam.
I want to give you a new one for you to be aware of so you
All
can call
right.
bullshit on it. I'm not saying I agree it's bullshit,
Jeremy
but
Gord's in the chat. I got all the homies in the chat. Yeah.
yeah, I think everyone here like you brought your friends to me.
Yeah.
So
Oh, well,
thank
that's
you.
why I was gonna go live, but I was just like, no, I just told everyone to come here and support
That's
your
really,
channel.
really cool. Well,
You
it's
got
like thank you
40 people,
everyone for
43
coming today.
people in here. That's pretty good. That's way better than I'm able to do.
Are you serious? Well,
Yeah. We
thank
don't
you
get
so much.
past 20. We don't
Well,
talk
I just
about fun stuff.
well then um well yeah, it's not fun.
Follow my channel, everyone.
Yeah, everyone head over. I actually feel
Hey,
like
Tribe's in here. How funny.
I think since it's an uncomfortable subject, it's a low number tonight, just so you
Oh,
know.
really?
This is low for
Wow.
me. I think that when I have other people who don't discuss uncomfortable topics and will kind of like be more level and even keeled and not try to hurt anyone's feelings or call people out for their lifestyle, I think the numbers skyrocket.
Yeah.
What is it? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It was what
Yeah.
sells, right?
That,
The
that's
uncomfortable truth.
why
Have
that's why anyone watches my show.
well, I
Thanks,
like
Honest
your
Outer.
kind. And Allie, your girlfriend,
Yeah.
she should be. I feel like she should have been sitting next to you this whole time.
I invited her and she was like, "Oh, well, I wasn't invited, so I don't want to be I don't want to push myself on there." Yeah, she's wondering why you aren't here.
It's really obvious to me
She's
now that
very timid.
well, but you guys, it does seem like you're a package deal where you're
Yeah,
better together.
usually. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
no, for sure. Like last night, like I don't know if we did a Kabbalion reading with Noah, and like I shouldn't even have been there. Like these guys are so smart, it's ridiculous.
Well, if
But
Jana
no,
knew,
I all this stuff I've been doing with the podcast and everything, like I wouldn't have been able to do it without her, because she got me into she got me into natural law, like just like she got me to actually watch the shit and explained it to me, you know, in dumb terms.
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely would not be here if it weren't for Jason because of Crow 777. And so me helping them with that show, that's the only reason why I knew anyone. And so I never did anything to deserve any numbers and subs. It was all just that, like, because I was the girlfriend of him, that
Yeah,
I met
that's cool.
so many people all at once. And then I didn't even think about the audience. Like, for the most part, it was just about like pumping out the content, pumping out the content. And then in 2019, Brian Stavely, who's into the Mandela effect, invited Crow onto an interview, and I realized I had to create a channel in order to be in the YouTube chat. So
Yeah.
that's how I started my channel. And then my friend Kelsey, and she's the same girl that observed the sugarcane juice chugging, she bent
Ooh.
over in front of the camera, and David Weiss put a screenshot of her butt on his Flat Earth app, and it drove traffic here. So it's actually because of David Weiss's Flat Earth Zodiac and something app that I got a lot of subs at once. And that trips me out because now, all these years later, I've got my channel reinstated. And I know that there must be people listening to the sound of my voice who in 2020 had that app, found my channel. And now we know for a fact, because Jaron went to Antarctica, that that model was disproven in the app. And I feel like when I talk about this, that David Weiss's app is that model's been disproven and that Jaron didn't fake going there. I just feel like it really disappoints people. And and I know that David must be really mad at me because I'm being honest. But if it was any other topic, I know he would call me and he'd say, Rose, as usual, you're always honest about your point of view and telling it like it is. But I just feel like something has changed, and he's married to promoting the map and all this division against Jaron. So that was just one example of just me being disappointed. I don't even know why I went into that subject. Oh, we were talking about subscribers and numbers and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be rad to have 40 people watch my show. I
Okay,
mean,
so
I get like a 1,000 views eventually, but like it's usually like around 15 to 20 when I'm live. But it's a vegan, like 1% of the population's vegan, so 1% of YouTubers is gonna watch my. It's like I don't expect. I'm only doing it for the 10 people that watch, but it would be cool to have just more conversation
okay.
going on.
Well, let me feed you. Why don't you interview Crow on your channel, because
Okay.
he's totally down with ethical eating. He doesn't want to kill things. He's more concerned with what's going to happen with him after this life and his soul's journey
Sick.
than like his comfort. And I don't know, I don't think he's vegan, but he's going to dig your point of view and your spiritual conviction, that's for sure. So
Awesome.
that would be cool, because that's the only time I get really good numbers is when I have him on. And so I try to think of reasons to be like, hey, Crow, let's come on and go to my channel and promote this or that. I just did a show with him recently because I made a playlist on the show, and I called it The Age of the Machine. And then I had him on and I reminded him of the episodes from the past.
Okay.
And then he would comment on it. And I just do that to try and like get people to the information. But yeah, but I think that once you start interviewing some people who have large audiences, then the algorithms will be in your favor. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And that's the value I like to bring. Like I said, I want to be the glue that brings people together. And so we just need to cross pollinate audience like the bees. Let the bees be a good example and not feel like we're in competition, but just all be able to share our point of view.
I have some
I don't know if
pretty
you
I have some pretty
interviewed.
interesting takes on the whole flat Earth thing too. You might be interested in some unique takes.
You have interesting takes on flat Earth,
Yeah, I mean, just some interesting opinions. I don't know, different opinions.
like against it or for it.
Neither. I mean, I was way. I wouldn't. I don't like. I went from being like kind of a flat earther to like just like more like I don't know, but I believe there's more space out there. Like I
Mm.
believe we have access to more, or we don't have access. I think that there's more out there. I don't think that whether it's flat or oval or anything necessarily matters. I just think we're being lied to, and there's likely more land out there with more natural resources that we're being kept from, or some sort of like a petri dish situation where we're being kept
Ooh.
away from, where a pacifist, a nonviolent pacifist group of people is keeping us away from them, because we need more evolving, and the only way for them to non-violently hold us away from them, or to get them away from them, would be to dupe us into thinking that we're floating in a little ball in space. And the whole what's it called, scarcity, like the whole system, we're in is based off scarcity. But what if scarcity was for the most part bullshit, and what if out there was more land and more gold and more natural resources and more stuff? Would you want to stay a prisoner in this system, if there was more land over the ice wall? Like it's kind of a, I don't, I'm very agnostic. I would never call myself a flat earther, but I'd never call myself a globetard either. I have not been shown enough evidence to make any conclusion. So therefore it gets put over with the Tartarian stuff, which was a fun learning experience and fun rabbit holes to go down, but not something I take serious these days, because I have bigger fish to fry. But the flat Earth stuff's super fun. Everyone fighting over it's really dumb. I mean, it's like,
Yeah. I piss people off every day because I refuse to conform to the division, and I will just be friends with everyone
yeah,
who's not against me for being the way I am, which some people might think is like, oh, you're just gonna like be on both sides of the fence where you're not taking a stand in a way. It's like, no, I'm not gonna hurt my friendships with people who might be at a different step on their journey, because if I'm wrong or they're wrong, at least we're still friends, so that when we come around and realize who was wrong or right, like for example, with Jana and I, we always used to talk about philosophy together, and if we would come to like a impasse, we just recognize that, okay, we're both where we're at, and we're going to find out who was right later at some point, and then we'll be like, oh my gosh, you were right and I was wrong. Like, why do people have to be mad at each other for being where they're at that journey? I think that it's good to keep the ties. But in 2020, the reason why I was able to get all of that traffic from the flat earth community was because I talking and being around the flat earth community in 2020 was my favorite way of showing the world that I didn't vaccinate, that I didn't wear a mask, and that I didn't trust the government. It's the easiest way to set yourself apart, and you know that the people you're talking to are doing all the side research and realizing the corruption and the deception. So it was the perfect opportunity to get a couple of my friends to kind of wake up to the new world order, including my dad even called me up like when it all started, and he was like, so do you think this has something to do with a conspiracy?
yeah, I love that. I
And
love that everyone's coming around these days. It's so funny.
well, nowadays, but back then it was just my dad in kind of secrecy, and I think he got one vaccine, and then he maybe realized I was even more right than he realized before. It was a good I told you so moment, but that's my ego.
He
I
probably
just
he
I
probably got retarded for like a week and was all, oh shit, she was right.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and also
Or
I'm not
worse.
sick because I went to an event that Karen B made, which was a flat Earth event, and there was 400 people there. It was no mask, and it was in a Freemason place. So people were like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are like evil and stuff because you found a place that would
Ritual.
let you be there maskless." But we were all being overly affectionate with each other, overly smoochy, hugging each other, sharing joints.
I was
Mhm.
not scared a single moment over that whole thing. Never, at not a single point was I like, oh shit, I'm worried about getting sick. Because I know how healthy I am, and I'm not like worried about I'm not like paranoid about my health, because I know I'm as healthy as anyone can be, really. And too, I mean, that's what it really showed. Like, so many people just got so scared, and it's like, you must be very unconfident about how healthy you are, because you're so scared, and there was so much fear. And dude, how long was that? 2 years? I never once was scared about getting sick. And
Yep.
I got sick a couple times. I got sick 3 times, I think. One of the times I was just sitting on my couch crying all day. It was really gnarly. I don't know if I got COVID ever, but I got sick 3 times,
You
and I
never know
don't
because you never got
rarely
tested.
get sick. I
I
didn't
bet
get
you didn't
tested.
get tested. Yeah.
Well,
So
my mom
basically,
didn't vaccinate me growing up. Like,
oh,
I had super hippie mom. I got real lucky. So, like, I've never really been sick. Getting sick 3 times in 2 years is a lot for me.
if I wanted to debate you
But it
about
was like
like
overnight.
child, I would probably be like, well, not many people are lucky enough to have a mom like you. So how could
Yeah.
they be prepared and have the tools? Would that be a good bullet point for me to debate against
True.
lifestyle changes?
But just, I mean, but it's not even, you know, it's more about, what you eat and how active you are, and, how what you're putting through your brain. you know if you're just always thinking about toxic shit, your body's gonna go toxic. Like, it's 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 more than just getting vaccinated when you're a kid, which definitely I definitely believe is some sort of soft kill. I have 2 kids. One of them was vaccinated, one of them wasn't. And my vaccinated kid is always sick, has been in and out of the doctor his whole life with eczema and asthma and all kinds of stuff. And my other kid, who's not vaccinated, hasn't been to the doctor really at all. It's like,
The proof is
the
in the
kids
pudding. I
had
have
like,
your site up so everyone should go over and sub to your channel if you're not
thank you.
already. I'm putting it into the chat. This has been so cool. I'm starting to feel kind of tired, and also it just feels like going more than 2 hours is rude of me, and you might be like dying to pee or
Oh,
have.
my podcast goes 6, 8 hours sometimes. So 2 is like nothing.
Well, okay, cool. So I don't feel so bad, but I'm
Yeah,
I'm kind of fading. It's
that's fine.
10:30 for me. I'm ready to make a cup of chamomile tea, and I think I'm going to put in some red rooibos. I
Sick.
understand that red rooibos has some vitamin C in it and other
Ooh, that's good.
minerals. And so I like that. I don't need to put any sugar in my tea. I don't require it, but maybe in your honor as my guest tonight, I
Do
will
it.
put my snooty sugar into it.
Awesome.
All right. Cool, man. Well, is there anything else you want to promote or talk about before we close it out and put my dramatic music back on that people.
Yeah, just sub to my channel, youtube.com/at Jeffrey Phillips. And usually Sundays, usually every Sunday, I have something going on. And sometimes there's stuff throughout the week. We do like study parties on natural law stuff, and we do a lot. I mean, my podcast is pretty, I don't know if you've watched my podcast, but the podcast is really fun. We're very critical. We do a lot of foreshadow work and petty
I've dropped
tyranny
it.
over there.
I've
Huh?
done some I've done some drive-bys, like, where I
Yeah.
go in and I lurk for a little while, but I wanted to mention to you, I forgot this, I'm glad I thought this, but I met Sethicus, smoking
Ooh.
a cigarette. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. In
Yeah.
2016, I was there to see Mark Passio. That is the reason why I went to Philadelphia to the Free Your Mind conference, and all
Yeah.
these different people were there, and I think he just happened to be one of the people that was outside, or maybe it was in 2017 when it went back the second time, and I was with Freeman Fly. But I was going through a hard time in my life, and I think that's why I was smoking cigarettes. But I like scary people. Okay, like I like weird creatures. I really have been guilty of immersing myself with some real freaks and it's put me in horrible
Your
situations.
weakness.
But he
It's
scared
quite
me.
typical actually for you to be into bad boys.
But he scared me, and I was scared of
Oh, he
him.
scared you.
He scared me.
Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. So you like scary things, but he actually scared you.
He actually scared me. Like, I usually, when I think I'm going to be scared of something afterwards, I'm like, that ain't shit. That's just like a front. They're just playing an act. They're not really scary. But he scared me, and he wasn't trying to be scary. But then I thought maybe I'm just projecting because he wasn't engaging with me a lot, because I'm very bubbly, and I'm very like, reaching, like, energetically for, I don't know, like validation that whatever I'm saying is acceptable to him. But he called himself something like paranormal psychologist at the time. This must have been 2016 or 2017. And immediately when he said that, are you friends? By the way, before I start talking shit, are you friends with him? I'm so sorry. I just saw him on
No,
your.
no, 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 no.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like. I don't know. Like Noah said last night, I don't hate him, but I think he's a complete douchebag.
Well, I just don't agree that whatever his thing is, like the paranormal psychology,
Yeah,
whatever he said to me, I
it's
just
new age
automatically thought,
bullshit.
I thought, oh, this is a guy that's just full of himself and
Yeah,
thinks that he knows everything.
he has $3,000 courses, and he sells
Oh
rocks for
my gosh.
rocks. A rock this big, he sells rocks for $320.
See, why do all these people that aren't as correct as like oh, and are like, there's so many content creators that just they get such big herds of like cults, like
Yeah,
their
he's
audience
got some
becomes a
weird
cult.
people around him.
Well, I don't know, but when you said that he has a $3,000 course, does that mean he has a huge audience, or he's just sucking a lot of money out of the few people that he can get in his net?
There were two people on my show the other day that got ripped off from him for $800.
Oh,
People
wow.
fall into the social hierarchy thing, and he's got a lot of videos, and he's got this cool aesthetic. And I think most of his YouTube followers he paid for. I don't think they're real followers but if you go look at his comments, he's got real people commenting. He's like what did I call him? You know who Jocko Willingink is?
I don't think I
He's
know,
like a
unless
Joe Rogan douchebag
I don't know.
military guy that's like the alpha male you like influencer guy right now who's like always like, yeah, be a man, like Seth's just doing this like lame, I'm gonna be like cool and manly and get all these wimps to follow me, like it's a tried and true scam. And we have all these guys. We're very critical of them over on the show, and our last two podcasts have shooken up the One Great Work Network quite a bit. So much that Mark Passio actually responded and had kind of a temper tantrum over a podcast I did. And so they're all kind of doing damage control right now, and everyone's making videos. And Seth made this funny video, like kind of yelling at all of the network guys that they're getting taunted and they need to be stronger than that and all this shit. It's pretty funny. Like, we're causing a little bit of drama.
I'm
But
afraid to reach out to Mark because he didn't like respond to me the last time I emailed him a couple years ago, and
he thinks he's special, and he thinks he thinks he should be treated special, and he doesn't
I
think that
didn't
he
treat
needs
him
to
special
communicate with
enough.
people like a fucking human being.
I didn't treat him special enough. I failed
Yeah.
him
And you
feeling
didn't give him enough
special.
money.
I didn't give him enough money. I didn't buy the arc. Why didn't I buy the arc? I should have bought the arc so that he would be my
No, you
friend
need to take one of
more.
his $500 classes or something like that.
But I don't need his class. I already am very
Nah, I know
successful.
I don't either.
Oh, it's so sexual to be. It sucks to be so much more
You'll
successful than
never
your.
be friends with him because you don't need his class, and you're not going to
Oh,
unnecessarily take his class for no reason to
I just thought of a
get
money
into the
making
circle.
thing. Can I tell you my money
Go
making
ahead.
thing? Remembering Sethicus reminds me. What if I had a members only? And by the way, it's $1 to be a member of my channel. What if for my $1 I had a psychology group talk, like a fake AA, where everyone's recovering from realizing you're in a crazy world and we all laugh about it? Do you think that would be more beneficial than some of the other shit that you've seen people try to charge to gain access to?
$1's not bad, but so Bill W., who wrote the Blue Book, who invented AA, he was a big fan of Jung. And I tell people that aren't confused about shadow work, I tell them, like, just go look at the 12 steps. Like, that's basically shadow work there, like a practical shadow work that you could put yourself through. But like my podcast called Vegan Group Therapy, like that's like we're there doing psychology, like doing, conflict resolution. And like I said earlier, we do foreshadow work, which is kind of like going after people and calling people out publicly on their bad behavior and forcing them to actually deal with it publicly. A lot, like half of the network has me blocked, but when these dudes block me, I just like do like, episode after episode, deep dive, researching what they are or what they represent. And we're finding that a lot of these dudes on the network are full on moral relativists. And it's just like, Mark, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, there's so many good people that could, like, he's into the business aspect, and it's now a money making thing. And he doesn't want a great network. He just wants a network that will supply him with enough money to keep paying for his house that he bought. And he doesn't give a shit who's on the network, because you could go up there and it's Justin Bedini and Tara Green and like all these people that don't make content, don't have anything good to say, are completely still caught up in all the distraction of the mainstream. And then people like me, get ignored because I haven't given him enough money, and because I've gone after some of the people on his network and they don't like me. So I'm not in the social thing. Which is fine, but like I didn't ever want to be on the network. I just wanted but I did kind of want to hear. I kind of wanted to see what Mark thought about the show and about what I'm doing, because I'm doing exactly what Mark tells people to do.
Me too. I've been doing it in my own
Exactly.
aesthetic, my own special way. I've been doing exactly, and I feel like I'm really good at explaining to people about everything that he discussed in the seminar. When the topic is, when it's the right time, I plant the seeds. But I didn't love him enough. I wasn't enough of a cult follower. So that's the irony, is that the guy I learned about the negative aspects of cult, I'm sorry if you can hear my ice machine, but the negative aspects of cults and stuff, and that he always said he didn't want to be a cult leader. I felt like I was like, oh, if I want to gain the validation from this person or have friendship with him, there's probably too many people worshiping him that he has to put that wall up, because that does happen when you have a huge platform, that you're introduced to just the scum of the earth, that you have a bad experience and you have to put that wall up. You were in a band, so you know more than me about how you have to kind of put up a wall and have better standards. But I feel like I presented him with that piece of artwork with Jana at Caroline's, and I maybe I didn't just show my love enough, but I did really appreciate everything he did. But now I just feel like it's not a two-way street, and I have to accept the fact that I wasn't there. But even Justin Pedini, he'll be polite to me on Facebook, but he never ever would do a live stream with me and always just blame it on the fact that he ate too much of a weed brownie. Just the worst excuses.
No, Pedini, we think maybe that Pedini got the vax over COVID, because he went from being a very smart guy into being a trash ape, basically. Like, I don't know. Like, I watched a video of him debating a guy on moral relativism like 6 years ago, and he smoked this guy. But the Pedini I know, like can't debate anyone over anything. Like he's full. He doesn't. I've been teaching. I've been, for the past 10 years, I've been teaching Pedini about logical fallacies, right? And he's still. I've seen 100 people explain to him what a straw man is, and he still can't explain what a straw man is, because he's the king of straw mans. He can't do anything without straw manning. This guy thinks that humans can't carve rocks. Like it's unbelievable what happened. And I talked to him about it. I'm like, what happened to you, dude? Like, I did a video where I watched this video of him smoking some guy, and I'm like, who the fuck is this Padini? Because he must have been cloned or something, because the Padini I know, is just a walking logical fallacy.
Well, I just don't understand why, just as a human being, he wouldn't want to shoot the shit and talk. And I think that until he ever comes up and does a live with me, it's because he's afraid that I might be funnier than him. So, Justin
No,
Padini,
I tell Patini all the time I'm way funnier. No, we always, when he comes up on the show, we pull up his jokes, and it's like no one laughs at any of them. They're so bad. I'm like, Padini, I'm way funnier than you, and I'm not even that funny.
I'm not that funny, but I think that
He's
he's
a
scared
funny
that I might be
guy. He's a goofy character,
No, he's
but he's
scared
not
of
a
not being the
comedian.
funniest. Justin, you're scared of not being the funniest. Come up and try to be funny with me and be funnier. I've got an audience here who likes my funniness, and I think they'd appreciate your attempt at funniest too. So give it your best shot.
The three of us should do a show. That'd be fucking hilarious.
That'd be
Get
fucking
Padini up here.
amazing. Oh my gosh, just the three
No,
of us.
I can't. I can't after like 5 minutes with that dude.
You could rage quit, and I would just in advance. I'm telling you, feel
I'll
free
just plan
anytime to
on rage
rage quit
quitting.
on Justin.
No, I don't rage quit. I kick him off eventually.
But I want you to see here, Alchemical Tech Revolution. This is Wayne McCroy,
Yeah.
and he has done a lot of really great work on esoteric stuff and transhumanism and
Make sure to
eugenics.
follow my channel.
Yeah, so I
Check
just
out
think
the
it would
stuff.
be great for you guys to connect and just cross pollinate audiences as well.
Word.
I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna start like forgetting what I was talking about or be stupid if I keep the show going. It's not you,
Right.
it's me. But I just thank you so much.
Yeah, that was fun.
Anything else you want to add before we end it?
No.
All right, cool. Well,
Vegan.
thank you so much. Next time we'll have Allie on with you if you ever feel like doing
Next
this
time
again.
Allie will be on too.
Because I have questions that I think she'd answer better, like recipes and stuff.
No, she answers all questions better.
And esoteric stuff too. Like
I just have the balls to get in front of the camera. She's way smarter than me.
Yeah, well, yeah, no. Jason's more well researched, and then Wayne is his friend. It's cool. We'll have more conversations. I think that we're all kindred spirits here, even though we might not all be where we're at on our journeys. I think it's good for us to keep in touch so we can say, "Sorry, you were right," or "I told you so" when the time comes.
Hell yeah!
All right, man. Well, have a wonderful night, and thank you so much. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye.